It is 595 miles from the coast of Hainan province. Even farther when you look at the mainland of China, just up here. By all metrics of reason, Reed Bank is ours. Hindi tayo papayag na tapakan tayo ng kahit anong bansa at harap-harapan nilang sakupin kung ano ang atin. Lalaban tayo sa panghihimasok ng gobyerno ng China sa ating exclusive economic zone. At gagawin natin ang lahat ng ating makakaya para maprotektahan ang kabuhayan at kaligtasan ng mga mangingisdang Pilipino.
Mas nakagagalit din na pati mismo ang ating military personnel ay nakakaranas ng mga unlawful aggression sa kamay ng mga dayuhan. Hindi dapat natin ito palampasin. Ang sa Pilipinas ay sa Pilipinas.
By the Permanent Court of Arbitration to be part of our exclusive economic zone. The 2016 PCA ruling was a historic triumph for all of us. But it is a triumph that we have not been able to fully enjoy as our friends in China has disrespected it time and time again, and their Chinese militia vessels encroaching upon our territory and harassing our much smaller Coast Guard and Navy vessels. You can see the permanent bases that they already constructed within the territory. And by the way, these are all armed to the teeth with missile batteries. Worse yet, they have harassed even our hapless fisherfolk who are simply trying to make a living but have been intimidated into keeping their livelihood closer to our shores and away from the bountiful resources of our wider waters. Our neighbors bullying, Mr. President, no denying about it, there's no word for it, is absolutely reprehensible and completely illogical. Let us take the Reed Bank, for instance. This was the news 2 weeks ago in every headlines. There was a swarming of boats and ships at the Reed Bank and Recto Bank. This, my dear colleagues, is 80 nautical miles from Palawan, and I will use a laser pointer. This is not the green laser pointer of the Chinese military Navy on us. This is just a red pointer to point out where Reed Bank is, 80 nautical miles from northern Palawan. On a clear day with a telescope, maybe with a binocular, looking out of San Vicente, Palawan, or even maybe the beautiful beaches of El Nido, you might be able to see the ships already coming close to our country, my dear colleagues. It is 80 nautical miles from the coast of Palawan, and why I say it is incomprehensible and completely illogical, the closest mainland China, the mainland area of China, is 595 nautical miles away. So please, Lord above, tell me, who can explain to me that this territory is their territory when it is that far? It is 5 times farther than our coastline. It is 595 miles from the coast of Hainan province. Even farther when you look at the mainland of China, just up here. By all metrics of reason, Reed Bank is ours. It is Philippine territory. Or we can look at Mischief Reef or any land formations in the Spratlys where China has been putting up reclamation activities. Mischief Reef, my dear colleagues, Mr. President, is just 129 miles away from Palawan. And it is almost 600 nautical miles away from Hainan. 600, mas malayo pa po sa mainland China. And yet China insists on claiming it as part of their so-called 9-dash line. Just look at the map, Mr. President. I always want to show these illustrations to people to really show them that we are not encroaching on their territory. They're clearly encroaching on Philippine territory. Imagine, my dear colleagues, ships storming the area 80 nautical miles from the US coastline. My goodness. Imagine the whole Navy of the United States and Coast Guard would be up in arms and would follow pursuit operations. Or even 80 nautical miles from the Indian coastline, or 80 nautical miles from the Russian coastline. They will never agree to that, Your Honors, no matter what side of the fence you're on. Given China's blatant disrespect of our waters, we are left with little choice but to once again seek the support and wisdom of the international community and impress upon the Chinese government our unwavering commitment to fighting for our sovereignty. Ayaw naman natin po ng gulo. Ayaw naman natin ng gera. Hindi naman natin kaya ang China. Malakas po sila, mas malakas po sila sa atin numerically and of course with their superior might. And the only recourse that we have is to take it to the international community. Hindi tayo papayag na tapakan tayo ng kahit anong bansa at harap-harapan nilang sakupin kung ano ang atin. Lalaban tayo sa panghihimasok ng gobyerno ng China sa ating exclusive economic zone. At gagawin natin ang lahat ng ating makakaya para maprotektahan ang kabuhayan at kaligtasan ng mga mangingisdang Pilipino. And to end, Mr. President, I just want to salute all the men and women of our Navy, our Air Force, our military, especially the Coast Guard, na harap-harapan po nilang tinitignan sa mga mata ng ating neighbor China at talagang hindi sila napapasindak at hindi po sila natatakot. Lalo na yung mga Marines stationed sa Ayungin Shoals. 24 sila. They are there for love of God and country. I salute them. They said to me and to many of us here, together with Senator Jinggoy Estrada, bahala na po kung anong mangyayari sa amin, pero hindi kami aalis dito. Ganong katapang ang ating mga kapatid na mga sundalo dito sa mga lugar na ito. I salute them, Mr. President. And we in government should support them at all cost. Maraming po salamat. Mabuhay po ang ating bansa. Mabuhay po Pilipinas.
7 years later, the harassment, aggressive tactics, and the continuous presence of Chinese marine vessels within our exclusive economic zone, as well as their apparent creeping invasion of our our territory, persist unabated. During my recent visit to Pag-asa Island, not far from the shore, we saw a fleet of Chinese vessels. And to our dismay, we even received text messages greeting us with "Welcome to China," while on an island under the jurisdiction of the municipality of Calayan, province of Palawan, Republic of the Philippines. Enough is enough. Tama na. Sobra na. Ilang mangingisda pa po ang matatakot at magdadalawang isip na maglayag sa sarili nating karagatan para makapaghanap buhay. Ilang magigiting na kawal ng Philippine Coast Guard pa ang hintay natin mabulag o magkaroon ng kapansanan habang nagpapatrolya sa ating teritoryo dahil sa pambubuli ng China. Ilang sundalo pa natin ang malalagay sa alanganing sitwasyon dahil sa ginagawang paghaharang at paghahamon ng mga Chinese vessels sa ating mga barko at sasakyang pandagat. Malinaw na malinaw mula sa mga binitawang salita ng kanilang mga matataas na opisyal at sa ginagawang pagkilos ng Chinese militia, hindi kinikilala at nirerespeto ng China ang naging desisyon sa The Hague. The Philippines won against China. Maliwanag na maliwanag. It is a message that should be repeated over and over again. at every opportunity, including at the August Chamber of the United Nations General Assembly. We are a David to China's Goliath. We must seek the support of the international community to rally behind our cause for a rules-based international order, one that is not dictated by swords or guns, but is won through respect for laws and sovereignty. It is in our best interest to follow through on the earlier pronouncement of former President Rodrigo Duterte when he invoked the arbitration ruling in his first ever address to the UN General Assembly in 2020, wherein he asserted that it is now part of international law beyond compromise and beyond the reach of passing governments to dilute, diminish, or abandon, and that we firmly reject attempts to undermine it. And he also emphasized what the victory stands for: the triumph of reason over rashness, of law over disorder, of amity over ambition. Sundan po natin ang naunang positibong hakbang ng nakarang administrasyon na ipaalala sa iba't ibang bansa at igiit ang kahalaga ng arbitral ruling sa pagtiyak ng kapayapaan at seguridad sa rehiyon.
Is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, my dear colleagues, I rise to support the adoption of the proposed Senate Resolution number 659 to urge our Department of Foreign Affairs to sponsor a resolution before the United Nations General Assembly to call on China to stop their harassment of Filipinos in the West Philippine Sea and to uphold the integrity of our territory. Hindi katanggap-tanggap ng ating mga kababayan, lalo na ang ating mga mangingisda, ay ginagamitan ng karahasan ng dayuhang China na makapaghanap buhay na mapayapa sa West Philippine Sea. Mas nakagagalit din na pati mismo ang ating military personnel ay nakakaranas ng mga unlawful aggression sa kamay ng mga dayuhan. Hindi dapat natin ito palampasin. Ang sa Pilipinas ay sa Pilipinas. The Chinese harassment towards Filipinos in the West Philippine Sea should stop now. It is high time that the Philippine government exert all efforts to ensure that China will recognize the 2016 Permanent Court of Arbitration ruling and other international laws such as the UNCLOS. The United Nations was built to hold member states for agreements they freely entered into. We come before other countries in good faith. It is but right that we expect the same from them. Thank you, Mr. President.
Maraming salamat, Senator Rafi.